Well, dirty water, high food prices, and unsavory living conditions, those are hard enough to deal with on any given day. For inmates, though, it's even harder.
Our latest Investigate NLA story explores how complaints from jails and people who are inside jails and prisons are investigated, and why solving these issues is not a one-size-fits-all solution. Franklin Dean looks back on the nearly 3 months he spent in Caddo Correctional Center, calling some of the conditions deplorable.
Steel and concrete is all I can, everything is steel and concrete.
He was being held on a $1.1 million bond that he couldn't afford in a case where the charges were ultimately dropped. Dean says the center was packed with inmates. At times, he says some inmates had trouble accessing spiritual texts like Bibles, and markups on commissary products made access impossible for some inmates.
Extreme overcrowding. There was no bed for me when I got there. The beds were all taken.
One wrong move, he says, and some correctional staff would place harsh punishments.
There are guards there that just take it way too far. Like, you know, it may be an hour that's supposed to be applied. They'll apply 8 hours, 24 hours to put you in what's called solitary.
Complaints about jail and prison conditions are some of the most common tips sent to newsrooms across the state, if not the country. In North Louisiana, there are dozens of jails and correctional centers and one state prison. We uncovered how many complaints about housing conditions have been reported in all 8 Louisiana prisons in recent years. Investigate NLA also uncovered complaints submitted by inmates at Caddo Correctional in the first half of 2025. Out of several hundred individual complaints, only 5 were considered founded by the sheriff's office. The rest were rejected or ruled unfounded for various reasons, like for sending multiple complaints or sending them to the wrong department. Captain Gil Rohrabach sat down with Investigate NLA to explain how complaints are handled at CCC.
So our formal complaint system is the ARP system, the Administrative Remedy Procedure. That's a federally mandated procedure that we use.
And then, so what does that look like in terms of filling it out? Is it online? Is it a form?
So we have it's on our tablet here. It's a tablet they pull up on an app, and they just fill it out and lodge a complaint, and it gets forwarded to our ARP sergeant.
Rohrabach says they make those tablets available to inmates as often as possible, but if for some reason they don't have one available, they can still use a pen and paper to write down their complaint, and it will be filed just the same.
They'd call someone in the staff and say, you know, something happened to my loved one, and I would go look into that. It's not a formal action on a complaint form that we would go address.
In your opinion, is it better for the inmate to make the complaint versus someone calling either you or a staff member to try to get things addressed?
Absolutely. It's a formal complaint for a reason. It's a legal form that could go through the process all the way up to the court. So by not doing that, you're circumventing that system that's put in place. So it's very important that they use that system.
But the way each complaint is handled depends on who runs things.
A lot of people think that they're the same and the conditions should be the same because they will compare them. But all prisons are not the same.
Bossier Parish Community College criminal justice professor Horace Spratley explains using prisons as an example.
Each entity is different. You have a state prison that's ran by the Board of Corrections. Then again, you have the federal prison, which is ran by the Federal Bureau of Prisons. And then you have private prisons, which are also ran by private entities as far as investors and such. But both are, well, all 3 are funded by taxpayers. Each one is ran differently because it houses different types of prisoners. So each one has to have a demand for the type of prisoner that they're housing. So each one is ran differently from the living standards of housing all the way down to the security reasons.
But regardless of who runs a facility, University of Louisiana Monroe professor Robert Hanser says there are baseline standards each one must follow.
There's going to be minimum standards of confinement, health and sanitation standards and stuff like that they're going to meet. Where a lot of the difference that you'll see between these types of facilities will be in the amount of training and the level of certification, if you will, or level of expertise with, say, security staff sometimes.
And if something is wrong within a facility, there are steps that inmates and their families can take to make sure they're addressed.
So with the public institutions, that's going to be something internal to DOC, and they have different means of reporting. Usually, first off, anytime that you have any kind of a criminal justice agency, they're going to have some type of like internal affairs or something like that, to where if you had really serious, severe allegations or incidents or problems, there would be an investigation. So there's always that piece in any public agency or a criminal justice agency.
We've requested copies of the 5 founded complaints that were filed by inmates at CCC that were in our records request. We're still waiting on those records, and we'll bring you the first alert when we receive them.